Okay. So we're gonna, have a little bit of a conversation, but before we get into probably the most unique movie we've ever seen,
Yeah, hands down.
um, Christian, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm all right. Getting a job put together. That's basically it. How
Good.
are you?
I'm doing good. I'm about 24-ish pages into a script I'm writing. Um, and I
How's
just
that going?
realized that it's going good, actually. I actually like it. I find that when you're writing something and you think that it's bad, but you're really, really trying to not make it bad, it's
Mm-hmm.
probably not. It's probably good, or at least someone finds it good. So I was telling my teacher what I want to accomplish with this thing, and he's
Mm-hmm.
like, "I think you've already done it. Like, I think you've like already said what you wanted to say with this scene." I'm like, "Oh my God, really?" And I just came to the realization that I'm probably writing the second act first, like I intended, but I thought that I was like the way it was developing, it was like the first act.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I think I can just do some bookends on it, and I think it'll be pretty okay for my first feature script.
Or it'll still be bad, and you're
Or it'll still be bad.
yeah.
But I mean, hey, from the movie we saw last night, my movie could also be exactly for 10 people.
How did you even pick Zardoz? 1974's Zardoz.
So I heard that this was the movie that Sean Connery decided to attach himself to so that he didn't have to make another James Bond movie. Because they had him on contract when he did Diamonds Are Forever. They had him on contract for two more movies
Mm-hmm.
after, which is why George Lazenby had to be James Bond. So they had Sean Connery on for two more movies. And so they did Diamonds Are Forever. And I'm pretty sure, this is what I've heard, like it's been a while since I've done this research, but I'm pretty sure this is the movie that he signed on to so that he could not do another James Bond movie because he was getting old and tired.
Is James Bond just that terrible to work on? Because like he's trying to get out. Daniel Craig is saying he'd rather cut his own wrists than keep doing these movies.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of work. I mean, they also do this whole thing of like, you can never wear a tuxedo again. Like,
What are they doing to these actors? Why is everyone afraid to keep doing James Bond? What happens to you?
I I think they choose a lot of actors who are really, really good actors and take their material seriously. And I think having to be that cold blooded
Mm-hmm.
really kind of gets to you after a while.
Mm-hmm.
Because, a lot of actors at least try to stay somewhat in the mindset of, I need to be serious all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they go completely, Daniel Day-Lewis or, someone who just kind of stays in that mindset. I think it just kind of like fucks with your head.
Or it's like
How
you just go crazy after you do it after a while. Like Judy Dench made Cats recently, and
That's
look how many
true.
Bonds she did. There's
Yeah,
got to
she
be a
did a
connection
lot.
there. Yeah, there's got to be some link.
Yeah, and also, like how action movies are made these days, I
Mm-hmm.
can't imagine that it is really boring to work on half the time.
Right.
Because you're just attached to cables and then you fly across a thing and then that's a day. You worked for 10 minutes and you got prepared for like 5 hours.
Yeah, I haven't seen most of the Connery Bonds. I don't know how great they are. I've seen the first one. I've seen
Mm-hmm.
Goldfinger, and then I've seen the one where he's like Asian for some reason.
Oh, yeah, you only live twice.
Yeah, so those are the only ones that I've seen.
Okay. Um, I mean, I think really Sean Connery is fantastic as Bond almost the entire way through. I just think Diamonds Are Forever is a shitty movie.
Okay. I'm surprised that this isn't the movie that broke him, that it was League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
You know what I think this movie is? I think this movie is the movie that made him only sign on to things that he could understand.
Okay.
because he was very notorious for that. That's why he wasn't Gandalf.
Yeah, good choice on that one.
Yeah, but I have to say that as weird and incomprehensible as Zardoz is for, I don't know, maybe 40% of the time, I can't say that it's a bad movie.
That's a good point. There's a good 20 minutes or so where I was just bored out of my mind.
Yeah, like the first act.
No, I even kind of that. I was more
Okay.
confused. Once he's
Okay.
in the colony, just doing stuff, I was kind of I don't really get where this is going or what's happening anymore. Can you try to explain what the plot of this movie is for anybody listening? And when I say anybody,
all
I
right,
mean Sophie and
so
Megan.
there's a little bit of a Clockwork Orange in there
A little bit.
because they're trying, or there's at least this notion of they're trying to make Sean Connery, who is called a brutal, to be less violent, and they link his violence with sex. Like a lot of those 70s era sci-fi movies kind of do that, like especially with Clockwork Orange, like all their violence is linked to sexual desire. And that doesn't work because they reveal that the immortals have forgotten how to die, so none of the men have any sexual desire at all because there's no procreation now. So I guess they're trying to make him an immortal because they definitely don't see him as a person. They see him almost like a beast.
You're getting into the meat and potatoes. I just mean just a basic, bare bones explanation of what this plot actually is.
Sean Connery is trying to kill the immortals by going onto Zardoz's headship, and he gets captured, and I guess he pretends to be stupid.
Was that part of it?
Not. There was a point where he's just like, I fight for Zardoz, I do these things. Like, he's very brutish. And then there's a line that he says, there's he's not as stupid as he's letting on. So it's this whole big thing of trying to kickstart society again.
Because society has collapsed.
Society's collapsed. The immortals are the rich and powerful, and they've separated themselves from the poor and violent, who are the brutals.
And the brutals are being controlled by a floating concrete head named Zardoz.
Yes, which is a portmanteau of the Wizard of Oz, because he very much is the Wizard of Oz to these brutals.
Except this one has more guns and bullets coming out of his mouth.
I thought that was kind of beautiful.
I bet you did.
It may be because I've been watching a lot of abstract artsy-fartsy movies, which is why I can't really say this movie's bad, because 60 to 70% of it is that artsy-fartsy abstract meaning of life stuff.
For idiots.
Yeah. I guess. But it is trying to tell the simplest story of, aren't you glad we can die, in the most complex way imaginable, with this weird putting your chess pieces and all your story beats around, and then at two major points drawing lines between them and plotting the path. Because it just shows you all this shit. There's no frame of reference, there's no context, there's no nothing for any of this stuff until Zardoz tells Sean Connery, he's just drawing all the lines of the path of the plot. And then they introduce more confusing shit to you. But it's not as confusing because you're kind of starting to figure out what's happening. And then again, in the third act climax, they just link everything together and you go, that's the story?
Yeah, basically you have, like Kate was saying, you have two groups of people, the immortals, and they live secluded away from everybody, and you have the brutals, and Sean Connery is what's called an exterminator.
Mm-hmm.
and they run around killing people, and they have like little Zardoz heads because they worship this big floating concrete head. But also before all that, the movie starts out with like just a guy with like a black background and his floating head with like a drawn on facial hair.
Yeah. So, like, you already kind of know that this is going to be silly,
Yes.
but you don't really understand what he's saying. Like, he's saying this whole thing is an abstract concept, and everything you're about to see is because of my design, like very Wizard of Ozzy. But you have no idea what he's talking about because the movie just catapults you into bandolier wearing diaper men in weird helmets.
Also, he says that like this is something that might happen, but
Yeah.
he dies at the end of the movie.
Yes.
So who's telling the story? Like, what? How does that?
I know.
So Sean Connery worships this head with these people, the exterminators, and then he makes it up to where like the Eternals are, and they're this very like sexless, kind of like evolved people. They're it. There's like people in like human shrink wrap.
Which is never explained.
No, it's not. And then so he finds these like evolved people. He makes his way into their little world, and then Charlotte Rampling is there, and she's an actress that I really like, and she's really good in this. She's really
I've never
attractive.
seen her in anything, but she's great
woman.
as Consuela.
She's in she's in the last season of Dexter, unfortunately.
Who is she in Dexter?
The last season, she's Dr. Vogel. Did you see the last season?
She's the new Harry.
Yeah, that's her.
Oh god! I've never finished it because it was so bad.
She dies. She gets her dumb neck slit. She's also in Broadchurch.
I haven't seen it yet. I kind of want to.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. My girlfriend recommended it to me. It's
Okay.
It's 3 seasons. It's pretty good. It's a solid detective show. Anyway, that's beyond the point. Charlotte Rampling is in this as a young woman, and I've never seen her young in anything before. She's good.
Hot. And
What?
amazing. I said she's hot.
Yeah, no, yeah, she was really pretty. And she's pretty now. She has a classic kind of like look to her. She looks very sophisticated. But her and this other lady, so she plays Consuela, and this other lady, May, and they kind of like, I don't know if they're in charge, but they're kind of like butting heads on what to do with this man who's found his way.
That's why I thought that they were in charge. Like, they were at least the most active when it comes to the Immortals.
Right. And May wants to study him for 3 weeks, and they're going to kill him. And Consuela hates this idea. Consuela will later end up having his child. But in the beginning,
For a completely needless scene.
Yes. But she hates him right off the bat, and then he becomes friends with someone named Friend.
Yes.
Who they all hate for some reason, because they all turn on him at one point. I didn't understand what was happening there.
Yes. Friend is I guess Zardoz's friend. Because they seem to know each other.
Because I should also mention, this is, again, if you haven't seen the movie, none of this makes sense, but Sean Connery makes his way into the floating head of Zardoz's mouth, and then he sees that Zardoz is like just a guy that he shoots, and then Zardoz falls out of his own mouth, and they're like, what'd you do with him? And they find out that Zardoz has like an actual name, what do they call him? Something Rain, right?
Alistair, it starts with Aaron Rain, maybe?
That sounds right. It could also be Alistair, it doesn't matter. And you find out that, like, the guy that he shot is actually one of the Immortals who was tricking the Brutals into, like, make crops for them. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yep, because the Immortals don't eat meat.
Right.
Because that's brutal behavior. They're vegetarians, and they eat what I guess is pistachio bread. Like, all their bread is green.
And they don't have sex. Yeah, they don't eat meat. Yeah, the pistachio bread. That they all take a bite out of and like pass it along or something.
Yeah.
So Zardoz the god, and I'm pausing a lot because I'm trying to make sense of this as I say it out loud. I haven't thought too much about it. He was making Zardoz again is one of the Eternals, and he's making them, the Brutals, provide wheat and stuff for the Eternals, which makes sense. I'm on board there. They want to find out who killed him, so I don't know if they were aware of it. Even though the Immortals can't die, but then, well, he didn't really kill him because he comes back. I don't know why he had to fake his own death.
Yeah, I assume because that comes in later that either you're only able to die outside of the vortex, which is where the Immortals live. There's a lot of the insert noun for the names of these people.
Right.
But it was only alluded to because it was later explained that you can die outside of the vortex.
But he doesn't.
Right, he doesn't, but I guess they assume he does because he's the only immortal outside of the vortex, and they don't know where he is.
Right. So they want to know what happened to their buddy, and then friend. Oh, Sean Connery's name is Zed, by the way.
Yes, Zed for Zardoz.
Yeah, and
which makes me believe that the Brutals are all named Z names.
How many Z names do you know?
I don't know. I mean, like, it's an English movie, so his name is Z. So maybe all the Brutals' name is Z.
But I can only think of like 5 Z names off Zed, Zeus.
Zethora.
That's a good one. Zardoz, although I don't know if they can be named after their god. I don't know if that's considered gauche, but I don't know how many Z names you could really think of. So, also, do the Brutals, because they're mortal. Okay, that's another thing. The Brutals are mortal. They can die. Do they have sex? Do they replicate like that?
I assume so, because, the Brutals don't, they procreate through rape. Like, that is pretty much explicitly shown to us.
Yeah, there's a lot of scenes of Sean Connery manhandling some, like, young actresses, and it's really uncomfortable.
Made so many jokes about that.
Yeah. More than you'd think. You get to a point and you're like, oh, yeah, surely he's done molesting these actresses. Oh, no, there's more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I gotta say, like, we'll keep going. We'll keep going. I'll say it later.
Okay. So, Friend is hanging out with Zed, and then May and Consuelo are trying to figure out what to do with him. May wants to study him and study his penis and his erections and what erections even do.
The men don't have erections anymore.
Yeah, the men in the Immortals are all very, like, kind of effeminate.
Yeah, they all have, like, 50s women's hairdos.
Yeah.
Which I thought was actually kind of cool looking.
Oh, yeah, I dug it. And then he's, like, taking them around, and he's explaining there's people called the apathetics. Who are literally apathetic. They can't do anything. They just hang out under a house or something.
Yeah, this is where I was starting to get the Clockwork Orange vibe.
Yeah. Also, you find out that there are immortals who have, like, done bad things.
Right. And this is more of the metaphor. So, like, the immortals, the rich and powerful, have all sectioned themselves away from society. And they're apathetics who are immortals that can't who've basically lost all hope because none of them can die. So they've lost hope and they just refuse to do anything. The renegades are the ones who want to go against the immortals and remerge the immortals with the Brutals and help society. But the Brutals are just too violent and the rest of the immortals don't want to. So what they do is they don't kill the immortals because the immortals cannot die. They straight up say they cannot die. They've forgotten how. Right. So what they do is they make you really, really old.
Yeah. They add years onto you.
Does seem like hell.
They make you old and they make you, like, senile and they segregate you off into this mansion.
Yeah, it's like an old folks' home mixed with Las Vegas. It's really weird looking.
Yeah.
But visually pleasing. Like, everyone's wearing a tuxedo or like a nightgown, and they look fun, but they're all insane.
And So they're figuring out what to do with Zed, and then like, I'm realizing this might be our worst review only because
we
we're
can't
not
explain it. We have to talk about it.
and like no one's seen this movie, and only like our girlfriends listen to this, so it's gonna be maybe our worst episode. But I just need to keep asking questions to make sense of this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry if most of it's just me making questions. I can't even be funny about this movie. I wrote right in the beginning, floating stone head, what the fuck am I going to say about this movie? But
so I was saying the same thing. Like, I don't know if we can be funny because the movie's so absurd. Like,
yes,
I think this is really just going to be like a straight up review of Zardoz.
Which nobody has heard of.
Nobody's watched because everyone sees Sean Connery in his weird bandolier diaper, and nobody wants to watch it.
Although that would rope me in. So Zed's friend, what does he do that pisses off the other immortals? Because they have like a trial for him.
Yeah. So right off the bat, friend is, friend is a friend of Zed. And he's sort of like showing him around the Immortals town, like showing him what he does. And already Zed is a bit of an outcast.
Right.
Because he's a little more fun. He's got more personality. He is more cynical.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I didn't see that he was going to become one of the renegades. Even though I should have, because why would you introduce that and not do anything with it? But he's more cynical. He's very jokey and almost making fun of the Immortals because of how they've destroyed their own society. So he doesn't want anything to do with how the Immortals are doing it. He disagrees completely. He's very bored of everything. So he could go either way, but his cynical nature, it makes him a renegade. So they're doing this weird group mind meld.
Yeah.
And then he goes, no, I can't take it. I don't want anything to do with this. And they all like point at him and go, renegade, renegade.
They're like
and
sitting in a circle at this table, and then they all just like point their fingers at him and start like casting him out, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's weird because I figured he would be old.
They make
but
him
the next
an
time
old
we
man
see
makeup.
him, he's got half of his face looks normal, and the other half is old. Which I got to say, the old age makeup didn't look bad.
Yeah, I thought they were going to cast like an old actor. I didn't realize they were going to two-face him, and I didn't.
Yeah,
because they said they're going to add 5 years to his life or something.
I thought it was 5, but I assumed that, like the more he kept refusing, the age was just coming up more.
It doesn't matter.
So it's weird that he's only got half of an old man face. It's not explained, but it's visually appealing.
Sure. So then, like, Zed has sex with May.
Yes.
And she's like touching him and giving him knowledge, which he apparently already had or something. And then there's this big reveal where like he was hunting somebody, and then like he's in this house and he teaches himself to read because all the Brutals are stupid.
Yes, all the Brutals are in fact brutes.
Yeah.
Like they are unintelligent, but through this weird convoluted story, Zardoz is the one who tricks Zed into educating himself.
Yep.
Because Zed's attacking a village or something, and he winds up in a library, and Zardoz holds up a book
that really pisses Zed off.
It really pisses him off because he's like almost like waving his education in front of him, like, you can't get this, so
stop projecting onto it like that's what was intentioned.
Yeah.
Waving his education? Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so Zardoz just waves a book in front of him, and then Zed proceeds to read like every book in the library.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how he becomes smart. And that's why that's where the Brutals, I guess, either elected him or he came up with the idea to infiltrate the Immortals so that they could bring down the Immortals.
Is that what happened?
Yes.
Zed was doing it all on purpose?
Yeah, Zed. Yeah, right. Yeah, because that was revealed. That's why he showed up in the head, and that's like the heads are the only things that could go between the vortex and the real world.
Okay.
And so, like, the movie opens up with him magically being inside of the head.
Right.
But it's later revealed that after he's educated himself, he comes up with a plan to infiltrate the vortex, to kill the Immortals. But by the time Zed's getting ready to enact the plan, or finalize the plan, he no longer wants to kill them, he wants to save them. Because there's like a bigger bad inside of a diamond that's making everything fucked up.
Yeah, who was that?
I don't remember. I was honestly watching this high because this is the movie you watch high.
Yeah, it would have helped me.
But it was so strange. I'm like, oh, I guess this is the bad guy that ruined society. I don't know.
Also, the book that pissed him off was The Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
And then you find out that Zardoz was like holding the book a certain way where he like covered the W and the I and the of, so that's where the name Zardoz comes from.
Mm-hmm. Which is very obvious just on how Zardoz operates.
Why did it... These people are stupid. Why do you have to make up a fake name like that? Why can't you just call himself Wizard of Oz or whatever? Why did that have to be it?
Because the movie's honestly, earnestly, with the best of intentions, trying to be smart.
Yeah, there's a lot of like reveals, and that's one of them, I guess. But in the plot, it makes zero sense why Zardoz would do that.
Right, it has to be revealed later, and that's why I say like the movie's tight. It doesn't change on you. You just don't know what's happening.
That's fair. Everything does get some sort of explanation.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why it had to be this way. So he has sex with May, I guess, and then like I don't remember what happens exactly. Basically, Consuela turns the group against him, and now they're like hunting him, and now she has become the brutal. And then she like finds him, and she's like, "Oh, you know what? I don't like this. I love you now, Zed."
And there's like this whole big scene of them destroying the gods and kings and queens, like, you know, destroying the status quo because the rich and powerful have hoarded basically all the knowledge to themselves via this room of ancient Greek and Roman statues.
Right.
Again, big abstract metaphors, trying honestly to be smart.
And then Zed goes into this like pyramid thing, this like mirror pyramid.
Which, God, some of the cinematography in this is really beautiful. But him going into the weird triangle mirror,
where it goes like sideways.
Yeah, like he just like, and it's just a big triangle mirror. But the way that the camera is, he like steps behind it, and he so funnily just goes, just like with his hands up in the air, and like he doesn't know how he's falling into it.
Have you seen Gentlemen Broncos?
I have.
Okay, I have no doubt in my mind that the directors for that movie saw this movie.
Dude, I that's another thing. Like watching this, I could sit there and go, how many directors have seen and probably love this movie?
Yes, yeah. There's a lot
like, there's even a little bit of Midsommar in here.
Specifically, I thought of the scene where he goes in the pyramid, because there's a part in Gentlemen Broncos, I don't know if you remember, but they start filming a version of that kid's book, and the way they go into like the pyramid looks exactly like that, and I'm like, there's no way they didn't see this. So he goes into the pyramid, and there's like an AI that like they also rely on to like be their judge or something, and does he destroy the pyramid? What happens at the end of the pyramid?
He
shoots it. He just shoots it with a gun.
Yeah, and like there's this whole, and, like honestly, the movie should have ended when he shot or when he killed the AI,
Right.
because it was like he was killing himself, and like that would have been such a beautiful artsy ending. But it keeps going so that when Sean Connery saves the day via killing this AI that's kind of ruined things, the Brutals have infiltrated the vortex and are proceeding to kill everyone.
Yeah, there's this scene where like they're like, "Thank you, you saved a Zed," and then there's this lady in the middle of like a fountain, and apparently the mortals all want to, they all want to die, and she's like, "Just shoot me," and he's like, "Oh, I don't want to do it anymore," and then another brutal like pops up and kills her, and then the brutals just start killing all the immortals, which is I guess what they wanted.
Yeah, that was the plan the entire time.
Zardoz slash what was his name?
Aaron or Alistair or Arthur Frayne.
Right. That was the plan. He had this whole elaborate plan to get the
Because
immortals
Zardoz
killed.
or Arthur Frayne does not like the immortals. He's very much like Friend.
Right. They're friends. They
Right.
did this to. They're happy to die at the end. Also, Sean Connery like makes out with the apathetics, and then they come online again, but then they
like
also want to
he's
die.
giving the apathetics like reason to live or reason to die or something like that. He basically bestows upon them knowledge.
Which they all want to. They all want to die.
Or sexual drive, because they lick his sweat.
Right. And
So
then
it
they
could
all
also
start.
be sexual drive. I don't know.
They all start making out.
Which that is where I was like, I've seen that in Midsummer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good
like
point.
that weird how they make out with each other. It's like very much like Midsummer.
Midsommar. Then like so they all die, and then he escapes with Consuela, and they go into like a cave or.
Yeah, this is the unneeded scene. Like I already get it. Like the whole thing is like, isn't it great that we can die?
Yep.
And then there's Sean Connery and Consuela aging and having a kid, and then the kid gets older, and then the kid moves out of the house.
To do what?
And then they grow old, and then they have the worst old age makeup I've ever seen.
I actually didn't think it was bad. Well, okay, it was pretty good
Sean
at one
Connery
point.
looks like a golem.
It looks good at one point, and then there's a transition where I'm like, oh, that looks terrible. Like when he's got like the full beard and the long hair.
Yeah, he looks like one of the gnomes from Harry Potter.
Yeah. And then they die, apparently.
And then the movie's over.
Yeah, and that's it. I read online that I guess Sean Connery had it in his contract that the sex scenes could go on as long as he wanted them to.
Ugh.
How do you feel now, Kate?
Honestly, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Because Sean Connery, although I would say this is a really good performance by Sean Connery, surprisingly.
Yeah.
He's still very much a creepy, bad person.
Yeah, known to be a bad dude.
Yes, and known, admittedly, to proudly beat his spouses.
Right. So, he's not perfect.
No.
But then who is, you know what I mean?
That's true, that's true.
So, that's basically it. I guess the whole point is that death is important.
Yeah. But that's such a simple story that we've seen 100 goddamn times. This is the most complex I've ever seen it.
Not complex, convoluted.
Yeah, convoluted, absurd. Like, I don't know if you've seen it, but The Good Place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's The Good Place.
Yeah.
Like, isn't it great? Like, wouldn't it be best if eternal life can end?
Mm-hmm. The whole last season is just about that.
Yeah, sorry, spoilers for you who haven't seen it, but I mean, it's probably one of the best shows ever made. Like, it's really fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a show.
Yeah.
And it can do all sorts of crazy shit as long as it stays within its rules.
Mm-hmm.
Zardoz does do that, but it doesn't tell you the rules
until the end.
Until the end, or the second act, like, information dump.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't bad, but you're right. I was just confused
Yeah.
until they start revealing stuff, and then at the end I was like, oh, that's actually like really like a simple idea.
Yeah.
I don't. Why did Zardoz have to do that? I don't get his plan. I don't know why it had to be that. Because like his original plan was just to have the Brutals kill the Immortals. Then why do you have to educate Zed? And why did Zed have to infiltrate them?
I don't know. I think that's more of where the Wizard of Oz thing goes.
Also, not all the Immortals die. May and a bunch of other women that apparently got like knocked up by Zed, they go off and do something else.
Yes, they escape instead of trying to stop the Brutals.
Right.
Because they know the Brutals are coming.
How'd you gather that?
I just I can't remember like if it was revealed, but the way that she looked back on the town being ravaged, it looked like she kind of knew that it was it was going to happen.
Okay.
But I could just be projecting and trying to make sense of something. But yeah, she like almost in like a biblical, like, you know, leaving Sodom and Gomorrah. Like she looks back on the destruction of her town.
Yeah.
And she also has a very Abrahamic sort of end. Like she's just like kind of cast out, really. And then it's kind of like I don't know. I'm making it sense of like she can't go to where the other immortals are going.
It is very Abraham-esque, and she gets assassinated by John Wilkes Booth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. God, what? This is such like an interesting, absurd, overly complex, sometimes beautiful looking movie that is meant for maybe 10 people.
So the director, was it John Borman?
He did Deliverance.
Yeah, he did Deliverance right before this.
Yeah.
And then he did this, and then he did The Exorcist 2, The Heretic.
Which is pretty good.
No, it's not.
All right.
When's the last time you saw it?
A long time ago.
And then after that he made Excalibur, which I feel like these three movies, Zardoz, Exorcist 2, and Excalibur, are like a trilogy of just bat crap craziness that I can appreciate.
I'm thinking of Exorcist 3.
I love Exorcist 3.
Yeah, that one's good.
Yeah, Exorcist 2 is when they have like the machines attached to like Reagan's head.
Yeah. Has no place in an Exorcist movie.
No, it's just very bizarre. But
it's a
don't know.
Script that they slapped The Exorcist on.
Yes. And then Excalibur, which I do like, but that's a long, weird, crazy one too.
Seen it.
You never seen Excalibur?
Mm-mm.
I'm not picking that because it's a long movie. But it's pretty solid. It's good. It's
okay.
I mean, what's your favorite version of like the King Arthur legend?
Ooh, I would have to get back to you on that because I can't really think of one right now. Like there are like several that I do really enjoy, like just the idea, you know, of King Arthur.
Is it the latest one starring Charlie Hunnam?
Oh, I was actually thinking of The Kid Who Would Be King, which I heard good things about.
I didn't see that. Yeah, I didn't hate it. I was just confused. Again, I feel like if I was stoned, I would have freaked out throughout the whole thing.
There's one of like the quintessential art films, like abstract art films. Like David Lynch has a lot of them, but there's this guy named Alejandro Jodorowsky, who's like the European David Lynch.
Wasn't he supposed to do Dune?
Yes,
there's a whole documentary about
his
that.
His idea of Dune was fucking impossible and terrible. But he did a movie called Holy Mountain, which is a very abstract, beautifully shot, wonderful, crazy movie. And this feels like, what if Jodorowsky made Dune? It would kind of look like this.
Yeah. Well, I read that this director wanted to do Lord of the Rings first. And then that got
No
shut
shit.
down, so he made this instead.
I would actually like to see that.
Well, he made Excalibur 2 movies
Yeah.
after this, which is got that whole
I think it would
medieval
have been
thing.
impossible to make Lord of the Rings at this point in time.
Yeah, well, they have that animated movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, like in a live action format
Right, yeah.
in the 70s.
Well,
But,
yeah.
man, still though, like, I think that this movie is not a failure.
No, nor is it really good.
It's not really a success either. It is very earnest in what it's trying to accomplish. It's just very weird.
Yeah. Good performances though. I mean, decent set design. I thought it looked really pretty.
Yeah, I was expecting some schlocky 70s science fiction, but I didn't really get that.
It's definitely not that.
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I honestly do recommend people watch this at least one time, because it is really like one of the most unique things I've ever seen.
Yeah, for better
And I
or
watch
worse.
a shit ton of movies.
Yeah. I don't have anything else to say about it, dude. This review, honestly, a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. I thought I would only have
I didn't know if I was going to be able to say anything.
Yeah, I thought I'd only have like 20 minutes, but we've gone for like 40 minutes.
Yeah. Whew.
I don't know what we're doing next. I don't know. I got to get back to you on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to think, and I was like, I don't know.
Dude, I had to play mindless video games after last night. Like, after this movie ended, I'm like, I just need to veg and think about this.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt too. So we'll figure out what the next one is.
Yeah, so I guess mystery review for next time.
Yeah.
We've only ever had like maybe 2 of those.
You've been going a pretty good consistency though lately.
Yeah, like we're getting back into it. It took me a while to get Aquaman because I honestly thought that I had already put it together. And it took longer than I thought, but I guess it's like right about par with our track record.
No, we've been doing pretty consistent. Like every 2 or 3 weeks, we've been putting one out.
Yeah,
that's good for us. Good for us.
Yeah, we've been staying pretty good with it, and every time I upload a video, like there on the YouTube dashboard, there's views this week on your videos. I'm like, how is Christian Mingle still number 1?
Because I'm sure it's not a movie that's really reviewed. I'm sure there are Christians who want to see reviews for their stupid pile of trash movies.
Yeah, I've grown a lot of respect for faith films, not like Christian movies, but faith films. Like Christian Mingle is very much a Christian movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it really wants to be a romantic comedy faith film.
Right.
Because it's not like trying to manipulate the viewer into like changing their mind. Like it's
true.
Just trying to tell us and going about it in a way that's not that they don't exactly know how, but it's I can say like I still enjoy Christian Mingle. I've seen it like maybe 5 or 6 times. Like I enjoy that movie because it's weird.
I think it's accurate to dumb, boring, waspy Christians falling in love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
they deserve the representation.
It is bad. I'm not going to say, because I did say it's not bad, but it is bad.
Yeah.
But I enjoy that kind of bad.
Okay.
But, oof.
We'll figure out what the next one is. We'll get back to you guys.
Yeah. Bye?
Bye.
I guess.
Yeah.